My name's Amanda Hudgins. I'm a social media person for RunJumpDev. I also super hate talking in front of people, like unbelievably hate talking in front of people, unless it's on a stage, because then I can't see you. Then it's perfectly fine, but I can see all of y'all. So today's talk, I was going to do some really basic social media rundown stuff because I'm not entirely sure y'all know how to use it. So that's my job. So I guess the general thing to talk about would be, and actually, here's the thing. If you have any questions, please just ask me now, because otherwise this is going to be over in 30 seconds when I panic and run away. So this is the RunJumpDev Twitter account. This is our primary social media account. There's a couple of like minor things on it that are kind of important for like establishing like brand, and they're just kind of like stuff to stick around with. So like, for example, it has a really nice big header image. Even on like your phone, that header image is still there. If you look at it really closely, which you can kind of do because it's the entire screen, you'll notice that it's not like weird and like off angle and stuff, but also that it's an image with like one simple thing of text in the middle. It's not like 13 different quotes on it and like, here's my cool game and here's all this other stuff. Yeah, don't do that. The thing is most people aren't going to look at your header on a screen this size. Most social media engagement happens on your phone. And so the header is about this big. Of social media presence in general is big, bold pixels and things like that. So not so much every time someone talks to you, it's right there, but it's small. So that's another thing, like don't use that either because nobody's going to see it. It's going to be at times, I think the smallest it gets is like 60 by 60 pixels. That's tiny. Like if you put a bunch of junk in that, nobody's going to see it. It's going to look awful. Here is our handle and our name. This is handle. Handle is the way people talk to you. This is our description. Short, sweet, has a link to our meetup page. Why does it have a link to our meetup page? Because Twitter only allows me one link to a website, which is this. That's our actual website. So our meetup page is another relevant, interesting thing. It used to have hashtag GameDevKentucky because Louisville used to retweet everything with hashtag GameDevKentucky in it, and it was just handy to be able to say, hey, if you check this out, this is all GameDevKentucky. Now it's just our meetup page because they don't do that anymore. If you scroll, I'm also looking at this from the perspective of somebody who runs the account. That means that this big thing in the corner there, that's our impressions on the last week. We have been seen 8,600 times, which is not bad. It's not great. Personally, on my own private account, I get more, but I mean, I'm better. I'm joking. I have more followers, which is the actual case. And we'll get into that in a second, why that is. But so you look here, this is all of our images. One of the big things I do with RunJumpDev and any social media account I manage is in images. You'll notice that they're all relatively simple, with the exception of this one because it's from the talk we're currently at, because I am currently live tweeting the talk we are at. So like this is about as complicated as I like to get outside of just images of people. Here's this image. Almost all of our social media images, with very small exceptions, are 600 by 600 pixels. Why? Because Facebook doesn't resize anything under 600 by 600 image. Like 600 by 600 is the Facebook sizing. So it's a perfect square. Facebook will pull anything that's larger than 600 by 600. It'll squash anything that's bigger. 600 by 600. There's about 100 pixels either direction, but it's a good middle ground. So you'll also notice that everything is kind of in the center. That's because if you're looking at it on mobile, on Twitter, it chops the top and the bottom half off. I think there's an algorithm in Twitter. It actually picks out the most important part of the image, but it decides what the most important part of the image is. And it's usually wrong. So if you make it so that there aren't a lot of things for it to look at, it decides correctly, because there's no other choice. But that means if somebody's looking at this on mobile, it's going to be like that. Twitter, I'm also totally fine with using not 600 by 600 because they correct for square. Facebook doesn't because it's awful. Facebook is the worst. We'll get into Facebook in a second, but it's basically the worst. So these are all the images. Now, we have a totally reasonable follower count. It's not great, but it's pretty good. And that's because our actual following is 80. We basically only follow people who are in Kentucky or game dev or who have spoken with us before. That's why our follower count's low. Our following count is super high comparatively. It's a good ratio to have. My follower count's higher because I follow more people, but we don't need to follow other people. So with an organization of this size, if we follow too many people, it's going to be seen as an endorsement. And nobody's looking at the back end of this account. Like if I go to home, which is like our regular timeline feed that you as a personal Facebook user use, I don't actually know who most of these people, I don't, like Ancestry, I think that's a tweet. But this is Alan Cook from Louisville. But that's basically it. Sorry, he's in Lexington. Sorry, correction. But I was confusing him with Alan, who is from Louisville. But like that is kind of what I'm saying though, is like this, I never look at this. I run this account every day. I don't look at this. What do I look at? I look at Hootsuite. This is Hootsuite. This is every account I manage. All of them. This is RunJumpDev's backend, LexPlay, the Lexitron. Ignore the thing on the bottom with the Lexitron. Everyone still thinks the Lexitron's a porn star. I can't dissuade them of that. This is my personal account. This is Vector, and this is SuperSoul. So this is every account I run. And this is what I actually look at if I'm looking at feeds. These are actually all the mentions. So whenever there's like 3 main ways that someone can interact with your account. They can talk to you, they can share, they can like. I don't care about likes, they don't matter just in terms of like spreading or visibility, but for actual interaction with the customer or with a client or with a fan, mentions is where it's at. So this is when someone talks to you. But this is the actual way that I post things. So this is publisher for Hootsuite. It's free up to 3 accounts. You will probably never need more than that. And we'll get into that in like 2 seconds, but you'll never need more than like 2 accounts. Why? Because you don't, if you're developing something, to make a separate account for a game, I promise you, you don't need one. If you do need one, you need one because you're hiring someone like me to run that account. But you personally probably don't need one. I almost exclusively advise people not to make them for games, especially small independent titles, which is what most of us are making. But this is scheduler. It's on the back end of Hootsuite. Hootsuite is free. So let's say, let's do a brief one real quick. Shh. No offense.
Don't make me listen to myself.
Yeah, that's why I got rid of it. So like today we have this talk here. Shut up. We have this talk here. This is the Hyperlate Drifter talk that was last month. So this came out today. So what we're going to do is we're going to schedule it. So what that means is we have this drop-down menu, this link here, and then shrink it and then say, thank you. Oh, nope. Got too excited. Okay, one more thing.
Pass.
Huh?
Past.
Yep, thank you. I don't normally do this looking at from this angle. Okay, so first things first, scheduling. Where will we schedule it? It's easy to just like throw something out. There are 3 main times that you want to schedule something in general. They are noon, 7 p.m., 9 p.m. in your specific time zone block. Why is that? those are the times that have the heaviest traffic on most social media. That's lunch, so that's when people who are at work are suddenly on their phones, not working. 7 p.m. is right before dinner, 9 p.m. is right after, like, it's kind of like that. I don't know exactly what it lines up with, but those are the 3 times. You notice they're actually also a time when movies happen, is 12, 4, 7, 9. You probably don't want to post at 4. That's when parents are picking up their kids from school and kids are getting off school, and like, it's a horrible time. Nobody posts then. But these are kind of your big times. So where do we want to post this? This is a tweet. We'll probably post it tomorrow at noon, because that seems like a good time. And we don't have anything going out then. So this will go on RunJumpDev. Now, this is almost done. It's not. Why is it not done? There's no picture. Almost every social media thing has pictures. Why? Because people engage with pictures. There's a sliding scale of things people engage with on social media. Videos is higher because they autoplay. That's kind of skewed, but they still autoplay. People look at things that autoplay. But after that is pictures, then links, then video, then text. So what do? I have something that has all 3. So it's going to have an image. I especially make most of my images. Yeah. Well, actually, let's do the one I made. That's the... So that's a picture. It says, it's actually the, oh, no. Be nice. So it's actually this image right here. It's not a great social media image, but it tells you that it's on YouTube, and it matches up with the image you're about to go to. It's not my favorite, but it'll work. So this is now ready to go. I have the name, I have the person who I think is most likely to share it and who's in it, which is Teddy Deef. And then I'm going to click schedule. There you go. And so now I have that up and running. This will let me post to Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter. I mostly, for RunJumpDev's purposes, and really for most of y'all, you're only going to want to post on Twitter and Facebook. Tumblr has a decent setting for game dev, but Tumblr, there's too many tools inside Tumblr. It's fun to use it exclusively, which is no fun. Really. Yeah, but yeah, like this for the entire week, I left gaps in this week because I knew that we'd have the Global Game Jam video that I just finished yesterday and the Teddy Deef video. I knew both of those were coming out, so I left gaps in the schedule. So tomorrow I'll probably set up for Global Game Jam video to go out. Post about once a day on Facebook, unless you're Blizzard, in which case you can post once every other hour, but you're not Blizzard. Because what that's going to do is that's going to make people unfollow you almost across the board. I would unfollow you. You would unfollow you. If you were posting once an hour, you would unfollow you. So the average shelf life of a tweet is 2 minutes. Does that mean you should post every 30 minutes? No, you should not. Do not do that. A lot of people do. It's a huge mistake. It makes people hate you. Don't do that. I post twice a day. 3 times if I'm feeling really busy, but twice, really. So 2 tweets, one 2 tweets, 1 Facebook post a day. Sometimes more, sometimes less. In the rev up for Vector, I'll post twice a day on Facebook. I'll double it because Vector is coming up and I'm like, oh, we're psyched. And then this isn't even covering what you do for events. Yes.
So, you just post some of the same things over and over, give like a cycle, or is it you try to always have unique content each time you post?
So currently, so what we do is, so for RunJumpDev, because we don't have a lot of things going on right now, like we're always doing something. Like we have regular Tuesday night meetings. I would have this up here, but it's not, but Tuesday night was last night. But for example, every Tuesday night at noon or between noon and 1, a post will go out saying, regular meeting tonight at 7, come out, or 6:30, I think. So regular meeting at 6:30, come out, do this, game dev Kentucky, etc. Very short picture, no link. So that goes out every Tuesday. But other than that, it just depends on what's happening. So this week was this, reminders that vector is a thing, because we're going to probably announce the dates. We already announced the dates, but we're probably going to announce like speaker stuff this week. And or in mind, but what that means is there's going to be 5 unique Facebook posts. Facebook posts are always unique. But what that also means, I post twice a day on Twitter, so I randomize the Twitter posts. So if at noon on, with the exception of, there's a duplicate, or usually I'll post about the Patreon in addition, because Patreons always need some attention, but it's not always in my 5. So if I post 5 in the week and then 5 in the evening, like 5 during the day and 5 in the evening, then it'll be probably only about 5 or 6 unique things, but they're repeated. But I always make sure that there's a day in between, so you're not like getting up at noon, seeing something, and then later on that day seeing it at 7. You've already seen that content. But hopefully if you're catching multiple people, if there's a separation and you're catching someone who maybe isn't always on at noon, but they are occasionally on at 7, that's the idea anyway. This is all like the super basic social media stuff. Like I do this in, counting making all the images, I do this in probably an hour every Monday for hour and a half, depending. If I can do it, you can definitely do it. Like it's super, super easy. I can do it practically in my sleep. I used to do this for this specific thing for 14 different NCAA fan sites at once. I could do that in 2 hours on a Monday, because that's all the same content. I would spend like one day making 16 different images of dudes running around with footballs, and then you save them into a giant folder and then you drop them off, and nobody can tell the difference, except for the one time I used the wrong color of blue. That was from the dark year where I had to pretend to care about, oh dear. I just really don't care about sports. But that's the thing, right, is that you can do this if you don't care about the thing. So if you do care about the thing, you can definitely do it. It's really, really easy, like I promise. But it's also tied to a pre-existing structure of things that exist. I've made this stuff for years, so I know that that's probably a little harder. And it's also connected to, let's say, a really awesome YouTube page, which you should totally check out, because I've been working on it a lot. And like, we make specific Twitter accounts for some things. Like Vector has a specific Twitter account, Lexplay has a specific Twitter account, but they also have different followers. So somebody who's going to Vector might not necessarily care about game development in Central Kentucky. They probably don't. But somebody who's attending Lexplay probably cares a lot more about speedrunning, I guess, than they do about us. But yeah, I've probably gone super way over. But yeah, also my mouth is super dry because I keep forgetting I have a drink. Okay, I'm done.